because they've invested so much in Alex and Helen and Lucy, the moment of the death, you'd watch theatre audiences and they would be unable. Really, I don't know what that was like as an actor.
It was always the moment where the accident happens. They would do that, and I think because they weren't prepared for it, and it was very important to us when we were rehearsing it. I remember that you don't play grief. That you go through the story as you would. So if you do see that, it does take a second to register that. So you don't comment on how you just go through it as you go through it, the whole, all the little parts make up the whole. Then don't they?
What's kind of. And what you'd expect if this was a kind of bad TV drama, there'd be a moment where he goes, "And she died."
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, or he'd break down. But actually, watching Andrew play it does take the audience a couple of seconds to go, "What, is she dead?" And that's really gorgeous. And it was a success. Every play that I've ever written has had mixed reviews. So Harper Egan had some stinking reviews. On the Shore of the Wide World had some awful reviews. Motortown, Punk Rock, they all had really crap reviews, some of them. And they had some good ones as well, so it's mixed reviews. Seawall never had a single bad review. People were just like, this is really special.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the three of us, me and George and Andrew, kind of fell in love with the experience of doing it and the experience of performing it in front of an audience. And very much wanted to do it again. So we took it to Edinburgh in 2009, is that right?
2009, yeah.
Yeah, and it had a similar kind of impact in the festival there. And we brought it down to London to play at the New Bush Library immediately after that. But it's something, we still talk about the possibility of doing it again on stage. And I think the thing is, we can do it until Andrew's kind of like 70, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think by then it'll start to stretch the reality of it.
Exactly.
And
until Andrew's older than half.
until Andrew's older, then it'll get weird. But we had this idea because of the remarkable position with you and with this film company that we could make a film, and it was your idea that we should make a film of this. And the question was, how do you translate that lack of artifice, that direct realism, the kind of moment where you no longer confidently know the difference between Andrew and Alex. So there's little bits, it's kind of more than in most plays. Moments like Andrew saying she likes this bit kind of raises questions about, that's Andrew's arm. Is that Andrew's arm or Alex's arm? What's real? What's where's the fantasy? Where's the story? And the challenge is how you find a filmic language for that. And there were various kind of ways kicked about. You could do this in quite a heightened way. You could do it in quite a poetic way. You could do this in a way which is completely unnaturalistic. And we explored a lot of those, and they never felt right. And I remembered in the writing the reason why Alex is a photographer in the initial conception, apart from it being thematically useful because of what he says about life and framing life, is because I have an office right next door to a photographer's studio, and the photographers make their living kind of doing photographs of, for still lives, of food photography and things like that, things like the kind of work that Alex does. So I just thought, well, let's see if we can make it there, we can make it next door. And if we did that, we could replace the audience with the camera. So try to create a filmic language where Alex's relationship with the camera is as unsettling and direct and as human as his relationship with the audiences in the theatre. And that's what we tried to do, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it. And watching it this morning, it was when we were making it, it felt extraordinary to watch on screen an actor perform at that level for so long, to get a 12-minute take.
Yeah.
Felt like a privilege to watch somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know what it felt like to act for 12 minutes.
It was weird, but I suppose because I'm used to doing it, I think it would have been weirder to do it, in little cuts the way you would normally do it on a thing, actually. But it's sort of a weird thing because I remember when we were doing the the stage version of it, the people say because it's it's affecting and people were very affected by it. They say, oh God, it must be difficult to get yourself into that space. And actually, the weird thing about the weird thing that we discovered was that actually I felt it's sort of more akin to a stand-up comedy than acting in a weird way. So actually being bright, because I think when terrible things happen to people, you try to find life. You don't try and focus on the heaviness. And actually, the sad parts of it take care of themselves in a weird way. So actually, I found it both this morning and when we were doing the play easier to the thing I need to do is to G myself up and actually to have an energy rather than start listening to sad music and access the grief, because that always comes. And actually, and that's why it's so brilliantly written, is that the more you play that, the more affecting the story becomes. You know.
So there's so many rules of television and filmmaking which feel partly they're an organic response to the nature of the medium. If you watch a scene of drama, if you watch a dialogue scene, after 2 minutes it does get difficult to watch. Which is why it's very rare in a film to have a scene that lasts, 3-4 minutes, or as long as a scene might last in a play. But a lot of the rules feel as though it's not an organic response to the nature of the medium so much as it's received wisdom about what you're meant to do on film. Like on film, you're meant to have cuts. On film, you're meant to use lights. You're meant to kind of use makeup or whatever. And it's not that we're kind of doing something really... It's not like this is a defiant... what's Lars von Trier's kind of movement called?
Oh, the dogma thing.
It's not like it's a dogma thing where we've got a manifesto of this is what film should be.
Yeah.
It just feels like the natural way of telling this story happens to betray every single rule of filmmaking. Yeah. But the compromise would be to not betray those rules. The compromise would be to be dishonest to the story. And I think we've just tried to find a film language which is as honest to the story as the theatre language was.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Exactly right.
You're finished now, man.
You have to have the last word.
Exactly right.